Thank you. Welcome. We're going to get started. Tonight we have Gerard Hetman and Shane Powers from NeighborWorks. They're going to give us a partnership update for the first quarter of the year. Before we get started, I'm sure it's included in this, but just to kind of give somewhat of an outline for the meeting, you're going to, I'm sure, touch on the Beautiful Blocks program? Yes. How about the West Side project? All right, and then programs in possibly other parts of the city, or if you guys are still doing first-time homeowners or other similar programs? All right, thank you very much. Well, welcome, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. It's a pleasure to be with the council this evening. Mr. Schuster, Mr. Mark, turn that mic on. Oh, that would help, right? We're good? Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you, council. It's a pleasure to be with you. For Mr. Schuster, Mr. Mark McAndrew, Dr. Rothchild, it's great to see you again. For Mr. Sean McAndrew and Mr. Flynn, it's a pleasure to be with you for the first time here in Caucus. This is the 7th consecutive year that our agency has come before you in the Caucus format to provide an update on the programs and services that we partner with the City of Scranton to provide to city residents. So I'm Gerard Hetman, Community Development Specialist here at NeighborWorks Northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm happy to be here with Shane Powers, our President and CEO, and we'll talk to you tonight about, again, some of these programs and services. Our agency is a nonprofit community development agency. We'll be celebrating 45 consecutive years of operation here in the city later this year, and we're headquartered out of Smith Street in West Scranton, the former credit union building just behind Sunoco on Smith Street. So we'll go through some items here. Our programs and services fall largely into 3 main areas. The first being our homeownership and financial services program. That's those first 2 houses you see from reading from the left, and that includes the first-time homebuyer programs that we'll touch on a little bit later here. The second area is our Aging in Place program, which assists older adults with living safely and with dignity in their homes as they get older so that they can continue to own their homes and live in their homes and meet their needs as they get older physically. And then the third area is our community development, which encompasses the 2 houses you see on the right, and that includes things such as Beautiful Blocks, our West Scranton neighborhood plan, and specifically our Hometown Heroes banner program, which we'll talk about here shortly. So going through to touch on specifics, we'll talk about Beautiful Blocks. We've been running Beautiful Blocks now since 2019 in the city. Have had a lot of great success and happy to see some expanded success in some of the neighborhoods we haven't touched as much in our first several cycles, so we'll dive into that shortly. Our West Scranton neighborhood plan, Shane will provide some details on later. We're well into the implementation phase of that program and happy to see some good results in terms of physical projects and also organizing and conducting programming in the neighborhood on a sustained basis. Our facade program we did partner with the city on. We covered some facade projects that we had with ARPA funds, but also we had some of our own funding that we obtained through NeighborWorks specific applications and programs. And we were able to do some good projects in West Side and also North Scranton with those funds. And then the City of Scranton Homebuyer Program, we continue to run well with the city, and we'll cover that a little bit towards the end here. So Beautiful Blocks, a program that many of you are familiar with. Beautiful Blocks operates on a citywide basis in the city of Scranton. And we're also happy to say our success in Scranton allowed us to expand it to both the cities of Carbondale and Pittston in subsequent years. We run it now in all 3 communities, the same program, but separate funding streams and separate administration for each one. The cities don't compete against each other. Everything we do in those cities is within those cities each. So the program provides matching funding of up to $1,000 per participating property for exterior home improvements to the front of participating residential properties. For most properties, that's a dollar-for-dollar match. So in order to get the full $1,000 grant, the homeowner or the landlord, if it's a rental property, would have to spend a total of $2,000. That way, we reimburse them for the full $1,000 grant, and they're matching that in effect with $1,000 of their own money for a total of $2,000. Now, we do allow for the 3rd straight year an expanded grant for sidewalk replacement or significant repair. A couple reasons behind that. One is it's a significant safety upgrade for anyone using that sidewalk at that property, the homeowner, or anyone going through the neighborhood. It's also a significant aesthetic improvement to make the property look better, and we often find that sidewalk projects are kind of a foundational piece for other work that homeowners want to do. In other words, they fix the sidewalk first, and then they tend to make other improvements later that year or in subsequent years because they've tackled what they consider to be a major repair, and rightfully so. Beautiful Blocks is a competitive application process. We try to fund as many applicants as we can each year, and residents have to apply to us in groups. So they need at least 5 properties within their neighborhood to band together and submit the initial application.
In past years, you've focused on certain areas. Are you focusing on any area in particular this year or citywide?
So the program has always been citywide, but we've had areas in the past where we've received a lot of applications, particularly the Hill section, West Scranton, and Greenridge. In past cycles, we had not seen as much activity in South Side and in North Scranton in general, and some other pockets. Pine Brook was one we had struggled to get into a little bit. But I'm happy to say over the last 2 cycles, we've gotten significant traction in all of those areas. Really, that comes from, I think, reaching out to the neighborhood groups, good word of mouth, including, I think, from some council members, and we've been able to get some groups that have really taken root in those neighborhoods. So we'll continue to follow up with all of our past applicants, but also reach out to new applicants across the city. So it's been a good exercise in reaching out to everyone here, and we're proud of our progress with that.
I guess my question is for the new applicants, what percentage of new groups are applying to these every year?
I would say approximately, sir, it's about a 50-50 split.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you look at the number of applicants in the groups. Now, sometimes, I think we see this in the Hill section especially, the groups amalgamate so that some people do it one year and then some people in another neighborhood the same year, and the next year they might combine because some people drop off and other people still want to do it. So sometimes they blend together from year to year. But I would say if you look at the majority of members of applicant groups, we see about 50% of the groups return with the majority of people from the previous year, and the other 50% be all new people who weren't in the cycle.
That's great.
before.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're fortunate that beautiful,
So the side, you just went over the sidewalk project.
Mike.
Sorry, I'm like you, no Mike.
that's all good.
So the sidewalk project, the past 2 years, the curbs were the buzzword. I didn't hear you mention curbs at all. So is that still a piece of it or a big part of it? Or I think it was a separate.
Curbs are included with the sidewalk, Councilman. So
Okay.
if people want to repair or replace the curbs, many of them do that work with the sidewalk repair. So that is eligible for the expanded grant if people do repairs or replacement to their curbs.
All right, well, thanks for clarity's sake.
Yes, sir.
But the past 2 years was a big buzzword.
Yep.
It was kind of separate, presented to us separate from sidewalks. So.
Okay. No, that's always been.
All right, okay. Well, you didn't mention it, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
Sorry.
Sure.
While we're on Beautiful Blocks, I just have a question about, so it's been around since 2019 in the city, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you guys go back to that point in 2019 and sort of, not so much audit, but keep track of some of those groups that you had from that time to see if they're still maintaining those properties to the same level they did through the program, or if a lot of them fall off and sort of fall back into disrepair and they're coming back again? Or do you guys do any, just like going back and meeting with some of these groups or checking up on them, so to speak?
Yes, sir, we do. Part of that comes through the recruiting process for the program every year, because we do try to engage with as many past participants as we can to try to see if they're interested in doing the program again. We also typically reach out to Beautiful Blocks participants, especially the block captains, the people in the neighborhoods who lead the effort, to engage with us on other programs, resident leadership activities, various other things. So we're fortunate that when we get applicants and participants in Beautiful Blocks, they don't just typically do the program and drop off. Normally they continue to improve the properties, and they do work with us either again through Beautiful Blocks and or with other activities. So it's very much not just a property improvement and facade improvement type program, but it's also a resident leadership development program. So we do keep in touch, and we see, especially those people come back, we see the progress that they keep with us.
So,
yes, sir.
so you would say it's a high percentage that maintain these properties after going through the Beautiful Blocks program?
I believe so, sir. Yes, definitely.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. So for this year, the application deadline for the first part of the program is March 30th. So folks have just under a month, if they haven't started the process already, to begin to apply. We encourage them to visit our website and also to call our office. I'm happy to provide coaching and technical assistance and organizational advice and assistance to applicants. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. So we're here to help folks train up and really get aware and help them build out some strategies and plans to help apply with their neighbors. We see a lot of returning folks apply and they're familiar with the process, but one of my favorite things is coaching those new applicants. I don't want to name any names or neighborhoods here because we're still taking applications and I don't want to single anybody out, but we've got some folks that are in it this year for the first time that we're really excited to see them get engaged and apply with their neighbors. So,
Gerard, the only complaints, I mean, it's a great program, and I hear a lot of great things about it, and people are very happy with it. But the only problems I've ever heard or complaints were people missing deadlines. Is that still occurring like every year? I mean, I'll walk into a store and say, oh, Jesus, but I missed the deadline. And I know every year we say, please get it out there more or deliver, the awareness or, is it still an issue? Like, people still come to you after the deadline and say, hey, Jesus, I missed the deadline, or how come I didn't catch this, or no, or?
there inevitably are some, sir. I would say that
Less, I hope?
I would think less, sure. As the awareness of the program has grown, that's helped, I think, alleviate some of that. I think just the nature of an annual cycle, you have some of that every year, but I think the awareness has grown. What we do is every year when we close the application window, we start a list. Literally, I open up the list that first day in an Excel file, and we keep a running list of people who are interested who come to us after the deadline so that we keep them in the loop in the run-up to next year. So that's something we make sure to do. Yeah.
Just one other thing, sorry. Sure. Is there any sort of rubric that's used for, it's a very competitive process, so is there any sort of hierarchy or rubric as to who potentially gets the grants? Is it first-time groups have priority over those coming back for the second time, or how does that work?
Sure. So we do have a scoring rubric that our selection committee uses. In each community, we use a committee made up of a couple different people. We have a representative from city government here in Scranton. It's typically been someone from OECD that sat on our committee. We also have one of our staff members, not myself, but someone else in addition. And then we try to get some folks. We have a realtor every year. It's been Nello Boyle here in the city, who knows the city well. And we try to get, this is where some of the engagement comes in, we try to get a few past participants who, for whatever reason, are not in the program this year to help us with the evaluation. So we do have a breakdown. I would say the two things that we value the most in applications, one is coordination among neighbors and the willingness to engage and work together beyond the projects, because we want to see people organize and not just do the physical work, but continue to band together, help each other, and be good neighbors going forward. The other thing is impactful projects. So we look for projects that you'll see here on this slide and some others where there's going to be a visual impact, a safety, a physical improvement impact that people can see and feel that will physically impact the neighborhood. I think those projects tend to score higher than some things that might not be as visible or as pronounced in the applications.
That's great, thank you.
Yes, sir. So on that note, the sidewalks you see here, so this was a first-time participant last year. Sidewalks on the left are a bad tripping hazard. They don't look good, they look beat up, just not a good sight. On the right, the applicant did a significant replacement, much safer, looks much better, and feels much better, and they'll likely do work on top of that because they feel better and the sidewalks look better. Another one here, so this was not a sidewalk project, but this house did significant painting and some updates to their steps, their front porch, the pillars there. They have been looking to get the colors to match the shutters and really make the whole front of the house over with that color scheme that you see on the upper part in the before picture. And they also did some landscaping and yard cleanup as part of that effort to make the front much more appealing. They were especially proud of putting the flag on the porch, and they noted that to us when they closed out the project, so we liked that one. This was another largely step and front porch repair. You see on the left there, sidewalk steps that are beat up. You might not want to walk up those steps if you don't have to into the house. On the right, much cleaner, safer, most likely, especially in winter. and also, again, some front cleanup that was done there to make the front more appealing with the shrubbery, bushes, plants on that property. And then last but not least, this is one of my favorites. You see the sidewalks there are a total mess with the old slate. The driveway's got some slate going on, some gravel going on, and that's just messy and probably hard to plow and unsafe coming out. They replaced the sidewalks and the driveway apron with a much cleaner, safer, visually appealing project there. So just to go through the numbers to show you the progress that we've made, on the left you see what we had last year in the city. So we had really good participation, and we had a number of really good projects completed, and significant investment, not just from our grants, but the total funds that are matched from residents with that. That bottom figure is the funds that are put in by residents that are not then reimbursed with our grant awards. So when residents do these projects, they're not just doing the part that matches our grants, but in many cases, they're putting significant funding of their own into improving these properties and improving the overall neighborhood. And on the right, you see the total projects numbers in the city since we started at first. And of course, there's more outside the city with the 2 other communities, but this is just Scranton for both of these numbers. Any questions? I know we've had some. So.
Yeah, so since 2019 first cycle, that's how many participated in the first cycle, or is that the total since 19?
That right-hand column is the total there. So, yes, up through 2020.
That's why I assume, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, sir.
I believe last year, towards the end of the budget cycle, when you guys came in, we had a draft budget, so we didn't see the year to date, so I wasn't sure how much you guys had spent at that point in time by, I believe it's year to date September. But I mean, since 2022 and early on, like 19, I believe it was about $30,000. So the city funded about $30,000, increased to $40,000. And in the last 2 years, it's been about $100,000 that have been dedicated to strictly beautiful blocks. It's been very easy to use up that money and make sure that it's been used efficiently and to the fullest extent?
Yes, sir. And we're going right to that next slide as we transition here. That's just what we were looking for. This is our total picture of the revenue from the city, and also you see additional funds raised there, plus the resident investment. So I would say specifically there's certainly a demand for the funding. We see groups apply every year. We try to fund as many as we can. I'm going to say the last time we funded every group was probably 2022 or 23. So I think the last 2 years, 24 and 25, we've had some more groups than we could fund in that cycle. So there's been great demand. And what's really exciting is we're able to, again, leverage the city funding to work with other funders, primarily institutions that donate through us through the Neighborhood Assistance Program that DCED runs at the state level. They've been contributing to us to the program, and being able to represent that partnership with the city and to have funding buy-in from the city government is such a huge leverage piece for that. It's a wonderful asset and support to have that we appreciate, not just on the program impact end, but on the administrative end when we talk to these other funders. When they see the city support, that's one of the best benchmarks of stability and of operational efficiency from year to year with the program. So the city has had a tremendous part to play in this, and we thank everyone from council and from the administrations, current and previous, since we've started the program, for helping us to make these impacts.
The money that comes from the city, is that strictly going towards the projects, or is it going towards other things in your office like salaries or supplies or administrative costs, or is it strictly going to the projects that are awarded?
Sure. I'll let Shane handle that for just.
Thank you for the question. It's important to recognize that the funds from the city, we're able to fully apply to the projects that we're completing out in the community, and the other funds that we're leveraging through the Neighborhood Assistance Program give us the added flexibility to be able to administer the program. So, I think it's a great example, and I think this is going to be a recurring theme that I hope you walk away with tonight, is this idea of collaborative partnerships, and really being able to take a program like this and really see how the sources of funds can come together, and really that there's a resident-led component to that, where residents see this as an opportunity to be able to do work that's critical to sustaining the neighborhoods across the city.
Yeah,
So outside of our yearly funding that we provide to you, And of course, now that the ARPA checkbook is gone, it's dried up, let's face it, what other funding streams are you looking at? I mean, with the absence now of the ARPA checkbook, how has it impacted the things that you want to do or no longer can do?
Sure. So if you look at this program specifically, the way that we are supplementing the work out in the community is through the Neighborhood Assistance Program, specifically through the SPP process, which is the Special Programs Initiative with DCED. And so that has been a program that we have been very fortunate to have partners out in the community, particularly many of the banks in the community who have partnered with us to be able to continue to provide funding support for initiatives like this out in the community. That's a critical piece. We also work to secure philanthropic dollars. So, you know, we have a strong partnership through the Regional Foundation. They have supported a lot of our work in West Scranton, and we have also been able to utilize some of those funds to support programs of this nature as well.
Thank you. I spoke about the beautiful blocks and the money allocated from the city for those. As we said, the last 2 years, it's been about $100,000 for beautiful blocks. So that takes a portion of that city of Scranton, $460,000. Can you just give a breakdown of the other the other programs that the rest of the $360,000 go to?
So that 460 is the sum total of dollars that the city has contributed toward beautiful blocks since 2019. So if you take the previous years that you mentioned, where in the early years there was a 30,000, 40,000, that's what that number represents.
Gotcha, thank you. And then, and on the topic of ARPA, so the facade program in West Side, streetscapes, and
Do you want the last slide, or do you want that?
there we go. Go ahead.
That was a good
Yes,
lead-in.
sir. We're on the same page, Councilman.
So yeah, could you give a breakdown of, just so it's out there, what kind of ARPA dollars went into these programs, and what are the programs, and how are they going up to the state?
Sure.
I'll wrap up on
Yep.
projects.
So Gerard was getting ready to talk a little bit about the commercial facade work that we did. That was an ARPA-funded program that was funded to the tune of about $115,000. Of that, $110,000 of that went out into the community for projects that were supported in West Side and in North Scranton. Those were the areas in particular that we supported as the work that we were committed to for that particular funding stream. And then there were other organizations across the community that supported commercial facade work in other neighborhoods. And I'm going to let Gerard talk a little bit more about this program, but just to mention the other two programs that were supported through ARPA funding. One was the homebuyer program. So we'll talk a little bit more about homebuyer at the end. I'll just kind of highlight that. But that was one of the programs that was supported. And I captured that we had $549,000 that went to that program. And of that $549,000, $529,000 went specifically to first-time homebuyers for down payment and closing cost assistance. The final program that we administered through ARPA was the home repair program for older adult residents. So that specifically allowed us to be able to go into the community and do repairs on homes for residents that qualified for the program. We targeted that specifically for older adult residents because that aligns with our Aging in Place program. In that program, we had $200,000 of ARPA funding, and we have spent down all of but $59,000 of that, and we have projects identified and committed for that remaining $59,000.
So that's what I'm going to ask. All those totals, the leftover money will just be used for the next cycle?
That's correct.
Got it, okay.
And that Aging in Place program, was that, maybe I'm wrong, but was that specifically targeted at North Scranton, or?
The Aging in Place program was for the full city.
Okay.
Yep.
So just to follow up on Shane's comments regarding the facade grant program. So we actually used ARPA, and we also had two other specific funding streams to NeighborWorks that we had applied for through DCED for funds just for West Scranton. And then with ARPA, our designated areas were West Scranton and North Scranton. So we did projects in both neighborhoods, actually using 3 different funding streams with ARPA included. So that's why you see here ARPA funding, but also we called it Best Side of West Side was the catch-all for the other 2 funding streams that we had. So we completed work at a total of 20 properties throughout West Scranton and North North Scranton. So many of them, again, were small businesses. Jaworski's was one that we liked there. If you look at their before and after, you can just see barely on the left side, the back of their building is a different color than the facade. They had wanted to make the building the whole color, so on the right, they were able to repaint it and do different work with the signage to make the building match, which was, from what they told us, a long-standing objective of theirs. So really meeting those demands, those desires of the businesses to put their brand out there on their physical property was a great part of the facade grant process. We no longer have any facade funding left that's not allocated, no other projects to be completed that we had with the program. It was a great initiative. We put those dollars to good use. It's a little bit different demand, I think, when you do facade work for commercial properties compared to residential projects like beautiful blocks. Just a little bit different animal in terms of how business owners approach the work with regards to timing and just the nature of their business cycle. Varies very much from business to business and property to property with the commercial side of things. But we think it was a great investment and a great partnership with the city through ARPA and then with our other funding sources that were specific to West Scranton. So we had a lot of good coverage and got a lot of good projects done. And then I'll turn it over to Shane here for some highlights from the West Scranton neighborhood plan specifically.
Thanks, Gerard. So I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the focused work that we're doing in West Scranton. If you look at the timeline that's here, we have been working on this plan since 2019. So in 2019, we began the initial data collection phase, where we went out and spoke with residents, business owners, to truly understand what it was that folks wanted to see to really feel that they were living and working in a thriving neighborhood. And through that process, we worked with a consultant to collaboratively develop a plan that ultimately became the West Scranton Neighborhood Plan. That plan was launched in 2020, and so we are about halfway through the implementation period of that plan. Gerard, thank you. So a few highlights that I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention that we're excited to share. One of the things that we have really worked to do is to create pride in place. And through that, we really look at how do we eliminate blight across the neighborhood. So there are several ways in which we have gone about doing that. One is on a very grassroots level on focused vacant lot cleanups. So we've worked with volunteers, residents in the community, as well as AmeriCorps volunteers to be able to tackle some of the vacant lots across West Scranton and be able to maintain them throughout the summer months. So really what looked at was kind of a wholesale initial cleaning of some of those vacant lots, and then looked at how do you maintain that on an ongoing basis. Second is the collaborative work we've done with both Scranton Tomorrow and United Neighborhood Centers on Scranton City Pride. So we have had a very focused effort in West Scranton. We've hosted the Garbage Olympics now for the last 3 years. So what we do is we work to get volunteers from the community to be able to come out on a very specific day to go out in the community and do garbage collection, but really do that in a way that kind of makes it fun and encourages families to really work together to be able to support the community. And then we host a gathering back at our office so folks can sort of celebrate the garbage that they've been able to locate. We actually give an award for the most creative piece of garbage identified. You'd be surprised what people can find. We've continued to lead community events for the neighborhood. What we've tried to do is create ways in which neighbors can come together to be able to truly realize the spaces that exist for them. And I think that's a good lead-in for the community redevelopment work on Cloverfield. So, we're all very excited about the money that we have been able to partner with the city to secure for some redevelopment work at Cloverfield. So this started as part of the vision of the West Scranton plan, was that there were green spaces like Cloverfield that we would be able to work with residents to identify what their goals and their vision was for those spaces, but then also be a partner to help bring those funds into the community to do that redevelopment work. And I think Cloverfield is a great example of that. This is a project that's being led by the city, but ultimately we are working in partnership with that group to be able to determine what the long-term trajectory is for that park space.
Is there a completion date for that project anticipated yet, or no?
I do not currently have an anticipated completion date, but I would assume that would probably be in the next 2 to 3 years.
The 10-year plan you're speaking of. The West Side Pride 10-year plan that was presented to us.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
So you're on target then, supposedly, or you're stating that, right?
I'm sorry, say that
You're on
again?
target for the 10 years?
Yes, absolutely on
Good.
target for the 10 years. And I think that there's some, really interesting collaborative efforts that are underway. I think that the West Scranton Youth Center is a great example of that. That's a project that was truly initiated by the West Scranton Wrestling Alumni Association. But through there, we've been able to partner with them to help secure additional funding through the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, which has really helped them to be able to realize the full potential of what kind of programming can happen. And that to me is really what's important about our work. It's not that we are continuing to solely lead this in perpetuity necessarily in the neighborhood. It's about working with residents, business owners, and other organizations to see how this work can continue to thrive and become a more organic way in which residents come together in the neighborhood. I'll just mention, we mentioned here that we do now own a building on Main Avenue in West Scranton, so that's what the picture is there. We recently replaced the windows and put up some, decals to kind of show that that was a work in progress. We did secure planning dollars to be able to work with a planning consultant and identify what the long-term best use is for that space. The dollars that we secured were through the Main Street Matters program for the state of Pennsylvania.
How many buildings in total do you guys own in the city?
We own 2 buildings in the city. So the building where our office is currently housed on Smith Street and this building as well. Yeah.
We'll just add, Council, that it's just actually started this week, but we have opened up applications for a new round of Hometown Heroes banners, which are the banners on light poles that honor veterans and their service in the community. So anyone interested in honoring a veteran with a connection to West Scranton can contact our office. They can call us or stop in. We do ask them to try to stop in if they can with those requests on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, just so that we can make sure we have adequate staffing to take care of incoming applications. But they're more than welcome to contact us anytime with questions. So we did an initial round of those banners on a trial basis 5 years ago through a Leadership Lackawanna project, and then 4 years ago we opened up a full cycle of applications, and we have, I believe, up there over 150 banners now honoring local veterans. So our plans,
If somebody who has a banner already up, now they're being taken down, correct?
That is correct,
Is
sir.
there a possibility they could reapply and get it up again, or is it like you're done and it's all for new banners?
So good point. So I will say first, we will save all the banners that are up there now. So if anyone wants the banner that's on the pole for their own purposes, they can certainly contact our office and get that physical banner. Our plan is to offer preference to veterans not currently honored on that space so that we can allow folks who have not had a loved one depicted up there as a veteran with their service to be honored in that manner. And if there's remaining space afterward, then we'll allow folks to come in and get banners that were already there, in effect to renew them, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
we'll save all the existing banners. We've had several requests for those to go back to families, so we'll be happy to honor those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When it comes to this building, I think you said that you're looking to study it to see what's the best use for it. What is the plan for it? Do you know that at this point, or is it still in a
We
study
don't know
phase?
yet. What I can say is our team has grown, and we know that there will certainly be a need for our team to have some space. The first floor of this building has 2 commercial spaces that are distinctly defined with their own entrances. So our vision is that our team will have space in one side of that, and then we are looking to figure out what the best use is for the other side. It really does represent a good opportunity for commercial development, could be a space for another nonprofit. The second floor was originally an apartment, and so that there is a possibility that there could be housing on the second floor. But we're working to work with someone to, we're going to issue an RFC, a request for concepts, that's our vision, so that we can also, hear from folks in the community who have an interest, what they think a good use of that property would be.
Thank you. And then the park there's a small green space on Luzerne Street near the high school. Is that considered your property right now, or did you guys just do a cleanup on that property?
We have done cleanup work. I believe that that's a land bank. It is still owned by the land bank, but what we are planning to do is include that in a larger study of West Scranton to look at what housing solutions may be best suited for some of the vacant lots that exist across West Scranton.
All right. And then look into the future when we're talking about Main Street in West Scranton, what are we going to start seeing in the future? Anything that's on the horizon? I know some of the facades have been updated, but anything else that's coming in the near future for West Scranton?
There isn't anything that's currently slated from a project standpoint. There is an effort that we have continued to partner with the city on streetscape. So that would be, I think, another phase that we could anticipate in the next couple of years, would be things such as lighting, signage. The area that is across from Allen Park, where the municipal lot is, there has also been some discussion about how to ensure that that is a safe place for people to cross. That section of Main Ave is incredibly heavily traveled, and so it has been a real win that over the last year the sidewalks were repainted along Main Ave. So greatly appreciated for that, because part of the work that Gerard and the community development team have also tried to incorporate into this is safe walkability. And so I think that will be another area of focus that we want to ensure that that space in particular near the municipal lot and Allen Park are safe. I know we're short on time. I'll wrap up with just this one. So there was a question about the Homeownership program and our first-time home buyer. This is a program that we have continued to partner with the city of Scranton on. This program is funded through HOME. So HOME is a federal HUD program. Those dollars are then deployed for a variety of project purposes, and that is really what the source of these funds have been. We also infused some ARPA dollars into the home buyer program when that opportunity presented itself a couple of years ago. So since 2020 that we've been partnering on this program, together we have created 131 new homeowners through this program here in the city of Scranton. That represents an investment of about $1.8 million. And so if you look at that on average, that's about $13,000 per homeowner. What we're seeing is that as home prices continue to climb, obviously the funds just don't go as far, because the reality is the way this program is structured, it is based on a variety of factors, but home price is one of the factors. And what we're seeing is still heavily utilized program. We are definitely still seeing individuals who, one, qualify for this program, and two, are genuinely interested and ready to be able to purchase a home. So this program is administered on a first-come, first-served basis. Individuals have to meet a series of qualifications. One of the things that I think is also very important about this program is residents have to go through our homebuyer education in order to qualify for these funds. We see that as a very important component to a program of this nature, because really what we're doing is helping individuals learn how to be an informed consumer and what the true responsibilities of home ownership include. And to kind of partner with that, we recently in the last year received funding from PHFA to explore a post-purchase housing counseling program. So really what that does is it allows us to be able to work with existing homeowners to help them to understand what the full scope of home ownership involves. And that could be anything from do-it-yourself projects to, how do I ensure that, my family has access to these assets after I'm gone. And so we're in the process right now of working with the Institute to do a community needs assessment to understand post-purchase. But this is an incredibly successful program, and we're deeply appreciative of the partnership we have with the city to be able to continue to create new homeowners.
Yeah, with that program, is there also like a tiered system of, so I guess one question I should ask before I ask that is, the percentage of people that remain in their homes, is the percentage of people that participate in the first-time home buyers program, are they usually staying in that home for more than, say, 3 years or 5 years?
Yes. That is correct, yes. And I would have to go back and look and see what the average is, but I think, one, we're definitely seeing people that are staying in there probably 5 to 7 years easily. I think that's probably the average turn time is probably closer to 7 years, and that's not just on our programs, that's kind of in general. And what I think we would also say is those homeowners are successful homeowners and are less likely to default when they've gone through a program that includes homeownership education.
And if they sell the home early, is there also, they have to pay back a portion of that?
That's
funding?
correct. Yeah, it's rated, it's prorated.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, council?
Any other questions from council?
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming.
Yep,
Yeah.
I will
you,
close by
President.
saying it's our pleasure to be here. Thank you for allowing us to provide this update. It's our pleasure every year to come in and share this information with you and to take your questions. We're always available, but we especially enjoy this format, being able to interact with you for the public. Thanks, Mr. Voldenberg, for helping to set this up. And I would be remiss not to mention Doris, as one of our very first block captains in our first several cycles. Doris Kolaski was one of the people who really helped us get beautiful blocks off the ground with her neighborhood in the hill section. So we give her certainly a shout out. So
All right, thank you for coming tonight.
thank you. Yep, and I will stay for the rest of the meeting. If anyone has questions, either from the public or council members after the meeting, I'm happy to talk with them. So I will be here as a resident to watch the meeting. So
All right, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. We'll end our meeting. It is 6:27. We could start back at 6:35, so we'll take a short break and be back at 6:35.